In 11th century, Saul was the first king of Israel. He was distinguished by the greatness of his knowledge and his strong physique. Goliath, on the other hand, was his biggest enemy and a Philistine giant. He was an aggressive enemy for Saul. So once Goliath came with his army to attack Israel, to kill Saul and to take their land. The battle continued for 40 days. Goliath issued a challenge for a single combat, but none of the Israelites accepted. David was in no way part of the battle. He was a 15-year-old shepherd who came to deliver food for his elder brothers in the war field, where he heard Goliath's challenge. David spoke mockingly of the Philistines to some soldiers. His speech was overheard and reported to Saul, who summons David and appoints David as his champion against Goliath. King Saul offered him his weapons, but he refused. Instead, he went and picked up 5 stones, puts it in his sack pocket along with his slingshot. Now picture this. Both warriors were standing there one-to-one in the battlefield. Goliath, with his shiny weapons, laughed at David and asked him if he is here to scare a dog or a goat. But David, bravely standing there, thinking, calculating his next move. David knew a person with such heavy equipment cannot move swiftly, so he kept a distance. He also knew that Goliath is a little short-sighted and probably won't be able to see the stone, and wanted to play on that weakness. David picked up his slingshot. He hurled the stone, which hits Goliath right in the middle of his eyes, and he fell down. Immediately, David went and cuts off his head. Now you might think, how can a stone be so deadly? Slingshots were the modern day guns, and the acceleration of stone can be deadly against human flesh. David brings back his enemy's head and his sword as a symbol of victory. Israel won the battle, and David became a hero for the nation. And later David ruled Israel as their second king. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that story, and you guessed it, today we are talking about Michelangelo's David. There is not one person I know who does not know about this sculpture. So in 1501, it was commissioned to Michelangelo by a church in Milan. He chiseled it in almost 4 years from a block of marble, and it is his most celebrated work. At that time, churches were the biggest patrons of art. Artists were outsourced and paid to create religious paintings or illustrations. Prophetic sculptures were often made, which defined their narrative. So be it the creation of man, Day of Judgment, crucifixion of Jesus, or Pietà, or be it the sculpture of David, these artworks were all part of that religious storytelling through visuals. Now let's come back to the sculpture. Many sculptures and paintings had been made before this to show this event, to celebrate the victory of David, but in each of those visuals, David is shown with Goliath's head or sometimes with his sword and making merry after the victory. What's unique about Michelangelo's David is that the moment which is frozen in time is right before he attacked Goliath. If we look closely at the physical attributes of this sculpture, his gaze is focused, his frown shows all that calculation going on in his head. Veins of his neck, especially the jugular vein, is throbbing with adrenaline. He is clenching a rock tightly in his right fist and with the other hand holding his slingshot. If you look at the posture, it's contrapposto, which shows that he's at a resting position but can take action any moment now. And in my opinion, the statue is naked just to reinforce the idea of him being so heroic and strong-willed. David was very brave and strategic in his actions, and that shows in this sculpture. So guys, I think we have all looked at this sculpture but never really seen it or thought about what exact moment is being shown here. And I thought I must share my perspective of it. Hope you all enjoyed. This is Art Collective. I am your host Sabha, and I will see you guys next week with another story. Till then, bye!